Ho, 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 it's Christmas Eve. We're rooting fig cuttings today. We're going to bring you along, so I hope you enjoy the ride. All right, there's a relatively new concept out for rooting fig cuttings called fig pop. It's been around for a few years. I have never done it because I haven't really rooted so many cuttings in the past. That I would just stick them in the ground and we would just let them root under mist or something like that during the summer. Well, this year the fig bug has bit me and I'm rooting more of the tier 1 type figs out there, along with some other lower end figs just for maybe rootstock or something like that. Now, the way a fig pop works is you have a heat mat, and I just ordered this brand new 48 inch by 20 inch heat mat, but this is the heat mat I've been using so far this week, and it's just a little one that you would buy off of Amazon. And then on the other side, the heat mat is plugged into a thermostat controller. The thermostat controller has a temperature wire that goes on the bottom, down at the bottom, and then the heat from the mat from the bottom warms the cuttings up. It's currently 64 degrees in this Florida room right now. And if we add just a little bit of heat to this, we've run in 75 degrees on the bottoms of our cuttings here. So we're trying to develop roots before we develop any kind of greenery. Now, I'm just going to reach in here and pull out one of these Scots Yellow, and I started rooting these just last week. And I knew I had some better cuttings coming that I had ordered on FigBid and some of the sellers, the more popular sellers. And then I wanted to wait until I got those cuttings and then demonstrate what we're doing here and just kind of get everything ironed out. So this is already a week into development. And I don't expect to see anything going on here, but I do want to just take a look at one of these just to see what is going on after just a week. So let's go ahead and unwrap one of these and see what kind of development we've got going on. Now, since there's really no chance that I'm going to have roots yet, I'm just going to pull this one out and we're just going to take a look at this cutting. I say there's no chance of roots yet, but just in 1 week, I've got a root right there. So that's great news. It seems like this is working already. And this little tip bud there, that hasn't changed. That hasn't grown any. Nice and cool up here. We're not trying to push growth. We're only trying to push roots. It's nice and warm down here to the touch. I mean, it's like 70 something degrees, just like it said. So it looks like the fig pop method is going to work for us. So we're just going to put this little bad boy down in there. And we're going to let it continue to do its thing. And then we'll do another update next week. By next week, I expect to start seeing roots coming to the edge of the basket, to the plastic. So that's what we're going to look for. So we're just going to do this one back up. Put a rubber band around it and we're going to seal the top. Now the concept of the fig pop isn't just that we're adding bottom heat, but when you put them inside these bags, you're holding 100% humidity, and that's what's really pushing the growth is bottom heat, 100% humidity. Now, a lot of people will use their rooting medium, and then the first thing they do is they wet it and then they squeeze it out. I've noticed in the past when I've done my cuttings that if I have overly wet soil, it tends to rot the cutting. So this time I didn't add any water at all to any of these fig pops. And you can see it was nice and moist in there. And look at the humidity that I have on the outside of the bag. No added moisture in there. That's just straight out of the store and into the fig pop bag. And we have 100% humidity in there. So now that moisture, you're not going to lose any moisture with this, because in order for you to lose moisture, this is completely sealed. The only way for that moisture to get out is through the leaves. We don't have any leaves, so we don't have any transpiration going through the plant and out the leaf yet. But once that top growth starts to go, then you'll have transpiration going into the roots, up through the cutting, and then out of the leaf. Then you're going to need to up pot this or add moisture until you get it to where you want it. All right. Now the reason I got another mat is I plan on rooting using this method to root more than just fig pops. Like right here, I have a tea plant that I started yesterday. I have a mulberry that I started yesterday. We're going to do some other things in here also. I'm going to try this with grapevines. There's 2 tea plants in that one. So we got a dilemma. Now if I go into these other forums like grape growers and I say we're going to use the fig pop method to root these grape cuttings, it's going to confuse people. We got to come up with a different terminology that whenever we go to the other enthusiasts, what are we going to tell them that this is? Or should we just go with fig pop? Leave me a comment in the bottom when you watch this and let me know if we should stick with the fig pop method or should we do something else. So, and if we do, leave me a suggestion because I have no idea. All right.
Maybe call it plant pop.
Plant pop. Cutting pop.
Cutting pop.
Now I just got this off of Amazon yesterday. Now one of the other things that I got the larger mat for is I have some potted plants and I'm getting ready to do some grafting. I just ordered a mulberry cutting and I want to go ahead and graft that onto the plant rather than wait till the spring to get that grafted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in here in the Florida room. I'm going to put that little potted plant on the end of this heat mat and we're going to try to start pushing growth. If you're going to do grafting, you need to do it right on as the plant is starting to push new growth. That way you're pushing fresh energy up into the cutting. So that was the whole reason why I have a larger mat, so that we can start pushing some cuttings. Now you can get just the mat, but you're going to need a way to control the heat. Now I hear people talk about they lost so many cuttings using this fig pop method that they wouldn't use it again, not with bottom heat. I've been monitoring this for a week, and it seems like if you have the thermostat and then you have the temperature probe right at the very bottom, you get a good accurate reading of what's going on in there, and it doesn't overcook your cuttings. So you got to make sure that you got to get that probe down there. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this one. So we're done with this mat for right now. And we're just going to set this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and plug this one up and get this one going. All right, now I'm gonna just bring this down here so that Michelle can get a good shot of what's going on here. And I'm gonna take these out. We're gonna repackage everything in here because we've got a whole bunch of new cuttings that are about to go in. And I wanna take these out of this box real quick. Now if you see what I have in here, this is cedar shavings. And a lot of people have, whenever I watch their fig pop videos, they put mulch and potting soil or whatever kind of medium they choose to use in here. Now my thought was cedar is anti-pest, so you shouldn't be getting a lot of fungus gnats and stuff. If you put this all around your fig pops, it'll mask the smell. And plus, if you're using the fig pop method, This was another benefit than if you just planted directly in the pots and then put the pots in here. You're not going to get fungus gnats down into this bag. So you don't have to worry about them laying eggs and larvae eating your roots off of your plants. You do if you do it this way. Now this way is just fine. I've done it this way before. I've just never used bottom heat. So that part's all new to me. Now the reason I would use this is if I'm going to sell a bunch of cuttings, then I may take the time to put them all in these containers, and that way I don't have to disturb their roots. I can just pull this out, put it up for sale, and then off my cutting goes, and I don't have to worry about putting it into these pots if you want to sell these pots. Now I have seen people sell fig pops on fig bid just like this, a well-rooted cutting, and then they'll sell it like that. But so far, I like the idea of using the cedar shavings, keeping the bugs out, and then using the insulation properties of the dry shavings. These shavings were just left over from last year's project when we were building a teardrop camper. And I just had these all bagged up, and then I was looking around like, okay, I need a medium to cover it all up with so that it all holds heat. And then I saw that laying over there. I put it all in there, and I kind of stepped back and I said, you know what, that has a different purpose also, other than just conserving heat in the root area. Now with it being 64 degrees in here and having, I don't know if I said this earlier, but if you have bottom heat, then you're forcing the roots to grow, but you're keeping the top of the cutting nice and cool. That way your leaves don't start pushing out. You don't want to start pushing growth before you have root set. All right, now we'll just dump this out a little bit later once we start putting our cuttings in here, or at least push it back this side. Because we're going to start bagging up more cuttings, and then we're just going to put them in there with it. So I had to pull all that cedar away so we can start lining our cuttings up against the other cuttings. All right, let's talk about what I got here. My friend Brian, Cajun B, he also sells figs on Fig Bid, and he sent me some De La Roca, and he sent me some Smith cuttings, so I've got those. I've got some Martineka Ramadas. Let's talk about the Martineka Ramada. And I don't remember where I bought this from, but I was looking at this cutting a second ago when I was tying this tag on here. If you look at each one of these where there used to be a leaf, those are called nodes. And right above each node, there's a little bud. That little bud, if it decides to start pushing growth, that will be your new stems and leaves coming out of that little bud. I got up here to the top and I'm looking for the little bud on this one. That was the bud. They cut it off. I don't have another bud up here at all. So my only chance of getting this cutting to root is along this little part of a node right here, and then along this node right here also. Now, the nodes, what makes those so different is there are undifferentiated cells in there, kind of like stem cells. They don't know whether they want to be stem, leaves, roots, or what. So if you put moisture to that, it's going to start pushing roots out at each one of these nodes. If it's left exposed to the air and it starts pushing, you're going to get a stem or a leaf that will come out of that little bud right there. So those undifferentiated cells will become whatever this little plant needs it to be. So wherever I got this cutting from, that was just one of the things I noticed right there, is that I don't have a bud up there. I'm going to have to root this one down below to get on that bud. I've got BB10, De La Senora Hiberneca, Del San Juami Gran. This was a free sunrise. Now, I got all these from Brian Melton at ProFigsUSA.com. And you can tell he sends really nice size cuttings. Each one of them is labeled. when you're doing your cuttings, you want to make sure you have double labels. It's good to take like the Sharpie paint pens and then write on there, even if it's just initials, so that you know what that stick is. And then I put on a sign or a vinyl tag or something onto that. And then I put this cutting into the bag that it belongs in. Now I chose to put white on the bag because when I put my dark soil in there, I need to be able to read and the white would stand away. If I used my black pen, probably a little less likely to be able to see that. Very happy with these, and also I encourage you to go over and see Cajun Bee, Brian. He has some really nice stuff, and he also posts often on FigBid for sale. So check him out and check out his cuttings and his trees he posts over there. He'll take care of you. And then Lance sent Barbentane. So this is Nord-de Barbentane. But man, look at the size of these cuttings. Those things are absolutely huge. Nice big buds. They look like they're getting ready to just start pushing growth. The tip buds are good. They're a little on the green side, but these are hardened off. They're ready to go. All right, so I'm very happy with all the choices that I have here. We're about done buying different cuttings for the year. We've got another one coming. Michelle picked out Paradiso, so we got Paradiso coming in another week or two. So we're excited to get that one. But we've got our eye on just a few more cuttings we're going to be doing also. So keep following the channel. I'm going to be doing updates on how these cuttings are doing, and I want to do a weekly update to kind of track this fig pop method. You're seeing me do this for the first time. I've never done this before. We looked at the one cutting. It seems like we're already getting good results out of it. And it seems to me this is going to be the way to root figs. So if you have never rooted a fig before, try this method. This is like foolproof. You can even put this thing on your refrigerator top and it'll grow roots. So, all right. Now, in order to do the fig pop method, you got to have a bag, and everybody talks about using the 1 mil or 2 mil size, the thickness, but a 4x12 or a 4x16 bag. And so I went on Amazon and I ordered these U-Line, is the name of the company, these little thin bags. And I ordered, I think there's 100 of them in this pack. 100 of them should be able to take care of us this for several years. I should be able to get several years of cuttings rooted out all these bags.
You're already at 18 minutes.
Already 18 minutes in.
My arm's killing me, so.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. Okay.
Just do one.
Yep. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and do a fig pop for you. Let's do BB10. Those nice big. Now you can use whatever rooting medium that you want to use. I just happened to go and pull out some potting soil. All right, so people talk about getting a root rot on their potting soil, and I think that really has to do more with the amount of water and moisture there. You just want 100% humidity. You don't really want to water these cuttings. Water will induce rot. Now, if I had some dry potting soil, I would probably use some of the water, the filtered water, or we have well water. That's what I would put in there. I didn't put any water in these cuttings. I'm not going to put it in today. It seems to be working. We're not going to add any more moisture than already it comes in the bag with. Now, you got to use a rooting hormone. I have two, and I've had these for years, and I've used them both for years. So whatever your choice is that you want to use. Now, I am just about out of this. I have got to go and buy some more of this, but I just went to my big box store into the garden center, and they have this for sale. And I'll just stick my cutting in there because I'm done with this. And just kind of bounce that around. Just get some rooting hormone on that stick like that. Push that right down into our fig pop bag here. And we want our stick close to the bottom, but not sitting right on the bottom. If we ever do have to come back and add water to this, I don't want the end of my cutting sitting in water. So we're going to push it about right in there. So we're just a couple of inches off the bottom, but we got plenty of, look at all those buds. Each one of those buds should be pushing a growth. And I'm so happy with this cutting. All of my cuttings look really good. I'm very pleased with all these cuttings. So everybody that sent me cuttings, whether you know it or not, I greatly appreciate it. Good job, everyone. Just take my rubber band. Now these are the same rubber bands I used to do grafting with. That's why I'm using these rubber bands. You could even do bread ties. If you've got a bunch of bread ties sitting around, like my wife collects all these bread ties, in case it's something that she wants to use while we're camping, use a bread tie. You can go to the gardening center and get a big roll of the twist tie stuff for tying up garden netting and stuff. Use that. Matter of fact, if I could find mine, I probably would have used that. All right, that's all it is, guys. Just loop that over the bottom, hold it nice and firm. We'll set this on top of our heat mat. We're going to set it away from the edge. I don't want this on the edge. I want to set it away from the edge so that we have some nice insulation properties and we're not resting it against a cold wall. Now, we take our probe. We put our probe right at the bottom here, and we're just going to keep it so that the probe turns on and off the heating mat based on the temperature that we have set. So I'm going to set that right there. We're going to keep stacking our cuttings in. Now, our setting, optimum temperatures, somewhere between 70 and 75 degrees is good enough to do root cuttings. You don't want to cook these things. You don't want to get them up into the 80s. You don't want to get them up into the 90s. You start getting into those 80 temperatures, you're going to induce bacterial growth, which also would enhance a risk of rot. So try to keep it around 70s. And how you do that is when you just hit this and hold down the set button. And once it flashes, just go to where you need it to go down to. We're going to put it on 77 and hit set. And then we're going to let that do its thing. I have this thermometer here with a probe on it, and I put this probe in different areas and I just kind of monitor the temperatures down around the bottom of the root. So I'll put this right down in there and we'll just kind of monitor from a different mechanism what's going on in there. And then we will make our adjustments on our thermostat based on the desired temperatures that we need. If it's running cooler, if it's running 60 degrees, then we'll maybe bump it up to whatever it takes to get it up there. If it's starting to run a little too hot, we'll bump it back down. But I got a thermometer on the wall over there to monitor the temperatures in here also. I got an air conditioner over there in case it got a little bit warmer than I wanted it to get. I got a heater over here in this Florida room in case it gets really cold at night. We can keep moderate temperatures in here, and that's why we're here in the Florida room. All right, guys, that about wraps it up. We're going to get the rest of these into bags. We're going to get them into the bin. We're going to set our table in the back corner. Now, this is the west side of the building, and I've got pecan trees right there that shade this in the afternoon. So I do not get any direct sunlight in here on my cuttings. I don't want it in the direct sun. I don't want to induce the buds developing leaves just yet. I want roots before shoots. Remember that. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned next week for a follow-up. Thanks for watching.